All right. There was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about for anybody that's just getting started with AI. So, like, if you were going to get started today, and I guess what I would say is that you have to have like some type of context. You have to have like you have to start from somewhere. So I think the spot that I would say you need to start from is like if you were just going to get started with AI today and you had never started AI today, you'd probably need to go to chatgpt.com. That's probably like the very first place that you need to go because ChatGPT is just like it's like Coke, right? It's like Coke, and you just need to try Coke so you can understand what soda even is. And you just start at the top, so you can have a good experience, and then you just be like, you try other things that are like not Coke, and then you're just like, oh, yeah, it's not Coke, you know. But like, if you start at ChatGPT, you can have a really good experience, and you can really find out like how to. You can find a good way to like understand AI, like or not understand AI itself, but just like have a good understanding of what people refer to as AI and ChatGPT and like LLMs. Like everything kind of stems around you being able to understand what ChatGPT is. And ChatGPT is just like, you ever notice that depending on like who's watching this, like if you're if you're yeah, it really just depends on who's watching this. Depending on the type of person that you are and the way that you search for stuff on the internet, like if you use Google, you're either you're good at Googling stuff or you're bad at Googling stuff. Like Googling stuff and looking for stuff is actually like a skill. Like that's actually like why there's a whole entire meme on software developers using Stack Overflow and just Googling stuff and that like just being their entire job, even though it's not their entire job. But like that was a strong component of it. And if you're somebody that's good at Googling, what you would normally do is you would type very specific words into the search box, and you would be very careful with how you sent your search to Google. If you're not so good at searching in Google, what you would type in is like, how can I get something blah blah blah, and you'd include specific details about your life, which is not important to a Google search. Like you're supposed to remove details about your specific situation and search for the general idea of the situation that somebody else is more likely to have experienced, you know? Like if you have this very specific thing, it's going to be harder to find than the general problem, right? So just that's the idea. Now, if you were always a bad Googler, somebody that would just type in all your random information into a Google search, then you'll be perfectly ready for ChatGPT. So if you just like talking to Google, if you just write your write your questions just the way that you think them and would say them out loud to Google, then you're set to go. That's all you have to do. And Google has just magically been working perfectly recently with their ChatGPT, their version of ChatGPT, or their AI model, however you might understand it. and that one's called Gemini, I think. I think it's called Gemini. And that's also a different version of a LLM, but the reason why I say that you should use ChatGPT over Google is because you understand them as two very different things, and it's easier to conceptualize. And also, ChatGPT has the best model for most things right now, I think. Like general purpose model, I would say. They have the best general purpose models, and that's why I think it's important to still go back to ChatGPT. Just if you don't even know what ChatGPT was, or if you're just getting into AI. Now let's assume that once you've found ChatGPT and you understand ChatGPT, you can see that there are things that ChatGPT can do. It's very smart. You can like do things with images, and you can I'm doing all this shit all out of order. You could do stuff with images. You can talk to it. There's all kinds of stuff you could do with ChatGPT. Almost seems like you're talking to an intelligent life. And after a while, I don't know how long it's going to take, because I've been playing with ChatGPT like practically since it came out, like 2 weeks after it came out. So I don't know how long it'll take you, but after a while, you will see that you have to talk to ChatGPT in a very particular way to get what you want out of it. Similar to how if you were a good Googler, somebody that knew how to Google properly, right? You would send a message to Google, or you would search on Google a specific type of way. And the same is true about ChatGPT and all other models. What you send to them in a very specific way becomes extremely important. What you ask for, what you don't ask for, what you specifically tell it not to get, right? All of these things are very important to how you interact with models. And once you're able to understand that, then you're ready to start using them, because you can see how they perform differently and how they reason, not how they think, but how they reason. And if you spend that time learning about how they reason, then you're able to understand how they may or may not work in a business setting and in an app setting. So if you can see that they're good at some things, hopefully that you're able to realize that they're not good at all things. But if you can see that they're good at some very particular things, then you can actually get them to do pretty much anything you want, within like very constrained bounds. And that thing that kind of makes it very particular is something called the context. It's like all the information that you would normally feed the AI during the conversation, all the questions that you have for it or whatever. So basically, what you have to do is you have to pay attention to the way that you talk to AI if you want to get the best results out of AI. And that's all it really comes down to. It's just, AI is just this very specific little black box that works really well with words. And you put words in and words come out. And it's just a bunch of averages. It's not anything that's alive. It's just like I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like Plinko or something like that. It's like those things where the ball like falls and it hits the pegs all along the way. That's kind of what LLMs are under the hood, except with words. And you have to be particular with your words so that you can get the ball to fall down a very particular path, right? You can always get it to go down this very particular path if you give it the right words. And that's the idea of what context is. So if you ever hear about AI and context, that's what people are talking about. So once you have an understanding that like, oh yeah, if I talk to an AI in a very specific way, then I could get it to do very specific things, or I could get it to respond in very specific ways. And then after you learn about how you can get it to respond in specific ways and get better answers out of the different prompts that you're feeding it, the different questions that you're asking it, or interactions that you're having with it, that's when you're ready to really learn about tools and tool calling. So when you learn about tools and tool calling, you get to see even like the amount of power that AI can have if you enable it, right? So AI is just, it just doesn't have a body, right? So it's just a smart thing without a body. Very capable, it's very knowledgeable, but it just doesn't have a body. And and tools are kind of like giving AI a body, but for the internet. So you give it a body in very specific cases. You give it very specific things that it can do. And the interesting part about that is that when you say, "Hey AI, you can do X, Y, and Z," it can do it very fast, and it can also reason, which is the important part, which is like an important topic. Reasoning, being able to think through the consequences and the reasons for wanting to do a specific thing or use another specific tool. When it's able to reason about tool calls and use them in like you could use them in parallel or in conjunction, so you could chain them together. When you see AI do that, you get to see it become very powerful. And then when you get to see it go even farther, where it's not only just doing some random thing with an API and it's making all the API calls so that it can like put together all this cool information for you. When you see it in action on your machine and you give it access to to be able to read and write files, well, now you have development in a whole new form. And this is the part where I feel like it's hard to recommend learning programming today because of this factor. The factor that you're able to have an AI which will always have way more speed than any human. It's going to be faster than any human can be, right? And it's going to be overall cheaper than hiring humans to do that same work. And and it's not that AI is going to replace the developer. It's going to empower the developer greatly, actually. And I think what's going to happen is that teams which have I don't think that teams are like always in like a state of growth, but I think generally they are. Like I think usually as a business grows bigger, it generally tries to get more developers on its team. I don't think that's going to be a trend. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just speculation and I'm just guessing. But if I had to guess, I would say that most teams are going to try to stay as small as possible. Right? Because if you can have somebody leave your company as a developer, this is six figures you're in the hole for almost any developer job. Six figures you're down. Doesn't matter what level almost. So you're down six figures as a developer. They just left, or you laid them off or something, right? That developer's gone. Now you have to go through the expensive process of hiring a whole nother individual and then onboarding that individual. That is so expensive. So what I think is more likely to happen is that instead of somebody leaving a company and that role opening back up, what I think is that that role stays closed. Like that role just doesn't need to continue to exist, and I think that's what a lot of companies will do for the smaller to medium sized ones is like instead of doing layoffs, if somebody just happens to leave, it's just like leave that role closed, and let's see if we can replace it with AI. That's what I think is really going to happen. And what you end up doing with that is it makes it like a very different employment market. Like employment's already hard. Let me see. Gotta turn this one on. Or actually, no, we were gonna do it in the air fryer. Okay, we're gonna do the air fryer for that. Oh, we ain't even doing rice today. I got the rice out and we ain't even doing rice. We're doing potatoes. I forgot. Okay. Anyway, I foresee development jobs being more and more scarce in the short term. And then there will be this weird boom of new AI company or like, well, not, well, AI companies too, but like there will be this new boom, which we probably are already experiencing. I don't know. I don't look at economics and stuff like that, but you should see a weird boom of tiny companies, and these tiny companies staying tiny. And that's my whole entire thought is like they're tiny and they're going to stay tiny. And what they do is they just try to increase the margins of profit. So then you have all these tiny little, very niche companies that don't necessarily need to continue to grow their staff count because AI is doing a lot of the work. So that's why I think it's kind of hard to like recommend learning programming is where I think I see everything going. And that's one of the things where it's like I don't know if I should be recommending that everybody should be learning Swift right now. Like I don't know about that. One thing that I do feel is that Swift is going to continue to be relevant and is probably going to be one of the more relevant ones just because of Apple. Now, I said this a while back and I still kind of believe it. I think that when ChatGPT dropped, when AI got into the mix and we were able to start coding so much faster and solve problems so much faster with ChatGPT. I think when that happened, it was at that moment that that cross-platforming just simply died. It just died. Cross-platform apps just lost. I think some crazy shit actually. I think that the whole entire browser app era is going to die. I think that things are going to get smaller and they're going to just stay on mobile, and it's going to get closer and closer to the metal. I think all this web stuff, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, when your AI is doing so much for you, like, why are you going onto a web page anymore? Why are you even going onto an app? Like, I don't even want to look down anymore. It's getting to the point to where we have glasses. So it's just like, that's why I don't know. I don't know if you should learn like any specific language. What I think is that you have to learn software engineering. And I think there is a different, like, generally there's no difference in the world when two people talk about those two things, software engineering and like programming. Generally there's no difference. They go hand in hand. They have to. I think that software engineering continues to thrive, but I think that maybe the name of it changes to something where it's like AI something, right? And then it also whatever that new role is it encompasses more and more departments and more roles than an individual normally would, just because that individual would be so much more capable of everything. So what I was going to say about like why I think that web is kind of going away, why cross-platform apps are dying, are they are going to die. Not yet. It's going to get really saturated and full of cross-platform. And then something like Apple's iOS, which I just saw today actually, which makes a whole lot of sense. Apple's redesign of Liquid Glass, I guess it broke Flutter apps or something like that. React Native apparently seems to be fine, but like there's probably always going to be this weird delay. And ideally, like most businesses would not necessarily want to be on that delay and have to rely on a third-party framework. Like why, like just cut out the middleman and just do it yourself, because now it's not you're hiring two separate teams to manage two separate platforms. You're hiring one individual to manage both platforms because the AI is doing the individual work, and all the individual that's overwatching the AI needs to do is understand enough about both platforms and have a good understanding of coding concepts in order to make all that work. Now, the difficult part is like, how do you get somebody new into this role? Because like I said, you need to be able to go in there and you need to be able to get hands on with the code. And that's the difficult part, which I still haven't figured out how this is going to work. But essentially, like, unless you're willing to allow somebody to go in and just really just be slow, because they have to still be learning programming for whatever reason, and you're tying them down, which no business is going to want to slow somebody down. Like, how do you get this person up to speed with understanding those core concepts? And yeah, like that might be some people saying like, oh, that's an argument for why there's always going to be people in the mix or whatever, why there's always going to be junior developers. But I think it's like, on the contrary, it's just like that role is going to go away. And it's like, why would somebody want to keep banging their head going slow when they're just going to go fast? It's the whole entire, you know, programming interview thing, right? Where it's like, oh, do this fucking, solve this red black tree, because you never do this in normal day to day, but hey, it's on our interview. So it's just like, maybe it continues to be that. I don't know. I just feel like, what company is going to want that? There's like so many developers out there right now that it's just like, people are displaced. Those jobs would fill up. I feel like it's really hard for a junior right now. I wouldn't recommend it. And where I think that it's better to go is just like, if you continue down that AI path, you know, like if you just say, we'll learn AI. When something comes up, I'll try to handle it the best I can. I'll try to do the research I can. I'll try to figure it out the best I can. and just push through it knowing that you don't understand. And what it will do is just like any real world experience is that it will teach you like, oh, like this is like the real problems that you're running into. Now you have to figure out how to solve your real problems, which is exactly how everybody else learns. So, damn, what the hell? Shit was gooey on the inside. And but it's just like, yeah, like I don't know. I don't know where to tell somebody to get started because I don't think that you should start from the bottom. I don't think that you should, like, I already knew that you shouldn't be learning Swift from scratch, even if you were just going into iOS development. I strongly disagree with that. That is a reason that held me back. Like why I didn't learn iOS development a year sooner was because of the way that people taught it. Teaching something, you're teaching theory about something that you're not using in practice is so hard to grasp. Like that's not good teaching. Like you should, like people, we should have never taught that. Like even in school, like you shouldn't be teaching how to do a specific programming language. Like there's reasons why you need to understand and know programming languages. I get that. But teaching it from the programming language features first is like teaching you how to use an app that you don't even know what problem it's solving. It's like you're doing it backwards. What you need to do is you need to teach somebody something practical, something that they can grasp. And you want to always use the stupid bank example and the stupid user example or the animal. No, it's not even user, it's an animal example. Like that shit never comes up in real life. So like, how do I map this? Like, how does this make an app? That's always the problem. So like that part was always already broken as it was. So like I already knew that had to change. But what do you do about AI and learning programming? Okay, well, if you're going to do that, I would still recommend that you just get hands on because that's like the only way that you're going to really understand like what what anything is. Like you have to be hands on, you have to like get it, right? Like you have to go through that struggle and run into a problem and be like, oh shit, I'm never doing that again. Right? So what does that mean? How does a person get started? How do they begin? First, you have to come up with an idea. Anything that you want, and it can be actually. I actually go against my own advice. My old advice was, oh, just you would start with something small. Try to make it as small as you possibly can. And that was great advice before AI. Now, what I would recommend, and now that I've been in this field and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I look back and I'm like, damn, like it doesn't feel like I've been doing this for 10 years, but I'm old as hell now. What? Like now I know, like do it this way. Like what you want to do is you want to go after your biggest dream. Whatever it is, whatever the crazy app is that you're like, damn, if I would have made that, if I knew how to make that, I'd be a millionaire. Build that thing. Just build that. And what you have to do is you just have to use an AI powered tool. I'm building my own AI powered tool called Zamrock, which would help you do this. But you can use anything like Claude Code. You can use I think Amazon has one. I think there's some open source one. There's Open Code. That's a free one. Like there's so many tools that you can choose from to help you build out whatever it is that you want. And all you have to do is you have to stick with it, and you have to be willing to say, hey, you know what? I plan on being alive in 10 years. And you know what would be great? is if this thing was just a little bit better every year. If you made your app a little bit better every single year, just a little bit. When you've been in the industry for so long and you're looking back and you're like, damn, like I have all these skills, they're willing to pay me this much and I don't have anything to show for myself. Like I don't have my own, like they're willing to pay you six figures because you're able to make them more than that, right? You have to get that. Right? So it's just like, man. So what I would recommend is if you want to get started with AI, if you want to get started with AI and you don't know what to make, but there was like this one idea, but you don't even know where to start, start talking to AI about it today. You just start talking about it. Just get an idea of what are the different pieces of it. Just talk to AI about your idea in general. Like, what does that even look like? Right? Because I don't think that you're going to really want to follow through with working for somebody else if you just build out the portfolio app that you're supposed to build out when you're first getting started, because that's how you get recognized, is by building out cool shit. Or like what you need to do is you need to build it out and then you need to post on social media so that everybody loves you, and then they're like, oh hey, you want to come get a job. That's how people get hired. Like it's not a hack. It's always about who you know. You post something cool, you post a cool YouTube video of something you made, guess what? People want to learn more about that. People want to talk to you about that. They possibly want you to work for them and do that for them. You know? Hey. Like that's all it ever is. Start build something today, put it on GitHub. It doesn't even have to work. Just start today. Today is the first day that you're a programmer. Bam. You just ask AI to do it for you. And then you just keep going and you just follow this trend. You see where you're at. And it's just like whatever you run into, that's what you have to figure out. And when you realize that like it's just a bunch of problem solving, that's all that software engineering really is. It's just a bunch of problem solving. That's why you tend to see a lot of developers, they tend to like puzzles and stuff like that. You'll see things like Legos or Rubik's cubes or puzzles, just a bunch of little things, collectibles. It's like a little puzzle thing. It's problem solving at its core. That's all it is. And that's also what I think entrepreneurship is, which I'm still exploring myself. So I don't know. But what you need to do is like, yes, just start your thing today. Choose something wild, big in the sky, and then just like stick with that idea, and then try to get the most tiniest version of it. You know, even if it's just a video. Can you get a video inside of an app to pretend to do what you're saying it to do? Right? Can you even do that? Like that might be good enough, you know? That might be good enough to keep you going, to be interested in your own project. Okay. Let's see. All right. Got the potatoes. But yeah, that's where I'd start. I would say learn ChatGPT, get comfortable with AI, maybe make a request to an API provider, whatever. Not an API provider, a model provider. I'd just go from there. There it is. Potatoes down. Okay. Now, a couple of things about working with AI in the technical perspective. I don't know, I just feel like talking about this. So, let's talk about context engineering for a little bit. Context engineering. Is that a real thing? I would say yeah. Context engineering is a real thing. The reason why I say that is because I've been working with AI a lot, and I've had, I didn't think about context engineering much like a month ago, but since then, since I've touched Claude Code, since I've tried Open Code, and since I've built my own offering of that type of solution, Zamrock, link in the description by the way. Since I built Zamrock, like, I understand a lot more about prompt engineering, context engineering, and what that actually looks like. So I think the overall topic is context engineering is a thing. Prompt engineering is a subdivision of context engineering. So what would context engineering be? Well, the way that I understand it is when you are working with AIs and LLM models and APIs and stuff like that, what you're doing is you're sending a conversation of you and the AI back and forth. So you say something, the AI says something. You say something, the AI says something else. You're sending that as an array of objects, right? You're sending that as an array of objects, and that array of objects is your context window. Whatever has been said from the very first message, which is actually a system prompt. It's whatever the programmer, whoever is in control of the API, is sending to the LLM. It's the first message, which is the most powerful message, which is responsible for telling, the AI, hey, like, this is the way that you should think, or this is the way that you should behave, or this is the type of information that you should draw from your natural resources to respond. Okay, so that's the AI stuff. So that entire array of objects is your context window. What you've sent, what's been said. Okay. The reason why I believe context engineering is a thing is because when you send specific information to the AI, and you've tried to keep it very concise about what you've allowed it to know, right? The conversation that you've had, the tool, and its data that it's being shared with the AI, and you have full access, or like when you try to focus on controlling that, that is when you're able to create a very powerful, honed AI. Right? Like the AI knows exactly what the problem is. It knows what it needs to know about your code base, which, remember, this is not like this thing actually knows stuff. It doesn't. All it did was it took what you told about it, told it about your code base, whether it was a tool call, right? It has full access to your computer or something, Claude Code type of situation, Zamrock type of situation, right? Or it has access through tools that have that access to your information. Whatever it responds from that tool call is going to be part of that array of messages that you've sent to the LLM, the AI, right? So when you take full advantage of that, that is the part that I think constitutes context engineering, because now it has all the information to apply code, which it knows what type of code it wants to generate for the situation. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So that's why I think context engineering is a thing, because having that type of control seems incredibly valuable. Like, as long as humans are still needed for programming, which I think we still do, then yeah, having that control is going to be a very powerful skill. It's going to be more powerful than knowing how to program, because all you have to do is be able to put two and two together, and even then the AI is able to do that for you enough enough to the point to where you can become an expert in this code base, which you may not necessarily know all the code to, like how to implement the code yourself, right? So you, just because you don't understand the code doesn't mean that you don't understand how the program works, right? There's a bunch of people that will watch this and complain, but if you think about it, you don't think about how things are compiled to assembly, right? Much less binary, right? So then it becomes like this tool of like, okay, well, what is a person supposed to know? Like, why would a person need to know the code? Like, why is that important? I don't know assembly. Like, I don't ever plan on learning assembly, and I will continue to make money without ever learning assembly. So it's just like, let me think. I'm trying to get. We'll do this. No, hold on. Do I? Do I? I may. I most certainly may. Oh, yes. Hope it doesn't expire. Should be fine. All right. Damn. But yeah, if you just learn, I'm not going to be surprised. Like, people can be as against the idea of people becoming software developers that don't actually know how to code. That's fine. You could be as upset about that as you want. I don't think that's going to stop anybody from getting the job, to be honest. Because after a while, somebody's going to start looking at interviews and being like, oh, hey, guess what? We actually need to know how well they use AI as part of the interview. So then it's like, okay, well, now it's like a job requirement. Like, you have to be good at it, right? Like, so like, what's the point of knowing how to binary sort? What the hell? I don't know, man. I'm a product of YouTube University. I don't know what to tell you. Do I think that you should go to school? Not as not as somebody in their 20s. I don't. I don't think you should ever. I don't think you should go to school. I don't even know if you should go to school anymore, honestly. I haven't even thought about that topic since I've learned about programmatic, like letting an agent loose in your file system. Oh man, once I figured that out, it was over. That's all I've been focused on. That is the future. I don't care what anybody says. It's not what the CEO of NVIDIA says. No programmers. It's definitely not that. But it's also not you learning Rust. It's definitely not that either. Like, you shouldn't need to you don't need to learn just one programming language. You need to learn how to read programming languages, and you need to be comfortable with writing in any programming language. Swift tends to be a pretty good fit for a lot of that. So if I had to recommend a route to go, I would say creating basic iOS apps is probably a strong path forward. And the reason why I say that is because you learn how to make iOS apps, you automatically get information on how to make apps for multiple platforms because of Apple and their ecosystem. Right? And then if they push into Android, then it's really something different. So we'll figure it out one way or another. I mean, I'm okay. I'm already in. I got the job. I got the skills. So now it's just time to share. Share what I have with as many people as I can. Living in shitty situations is fun for nobody. There we go. All right. Now, there's still room to grow and become like an expert in areas. And I think that will actually become like pretty valuable, more so than it used to be, where it's just like AI is only trained on what it can find online for the most part. So if you do have like a very niche skill, then depending on that skill, and how deep you need to go with that skill, to really have a good understanding, and the AI can't figure it out, which is usually not the case because of documentation and the way that it's supposed to be. And now you don't have to be a human to read the documentation. But with the way that that's set up, it makes it harder to, I think, build into a niche, because then all you have to do is just point the AI at that niche and then figure it out. But like a lot of the times, what you have to do is you have to be able to, like, the creative person, and that's kind of, I think, what makes an entrepreneur, is probably like being able to put ideas that don't necessarily fit together, or don't always fit together, or not naturally known to fit together, and you put them together, and then that makes this this situation for money. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the way I think about it. But I don't know. I tie a lot of this AI stuff to like entrepreneurship, because that's kind of like the situation that I'm in right now, where I'm trying to like just be an entrepreneur, figure some stuff out. You know, I got my own potential SaaS company starting, but like at the same time, I'm not necessarily just doing that, you know. And I think, you know, if you follow anybody's given advice, it's like you're not supposed to spread yourself too thin, or focus on too many different things. And I think with AI, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And that's what I'm trying to do now. Yeah. Okay. Got them potatoes done. Got them potato. We got them potato done. Got them potatoes done. Got that. Clear that out. This is trash. All right. Let's go to get this. One of the things that I want to look into today, or, well, I don't even know if I'll get time tonight, to be honest. But I would like to look into, it's called Spec Kit by GitHub. I think it might be, I think they're trying to create like a uniform path. And I think probably the best thing to do is to probably try to adopt that sooner than later. So that, well, one, because I already kind of had that idea in mind. Like, I want it to have like Zamrock question you. Like, ideally, you know all the information that you need to know up front, and this way you're able to use AI much more powerfully that way. And that's how they're coming up with all the different agentic modes, is like they're just that's all they're doing is just like, okay, well, we'll give it a different system prompt and a couple of different capabilities. Like, really, that's all it is. It's just like, oh, it's on for this use case, but it's not on for this use case. And I don't know. Like, I think it's definitely more commonplace to want to just get and go. You know, you just want to get up and go, and like, you're not really having to think about it. But I don't know, like in a professional environment, I think that's too dangerous. Like, I've even slowed down the amount of vibe coding that I do. You know, because like at first when you're working with a fresh project, it's like really easy for you to just go fast and just like do whatever you want. Like, it takes several iterations for you to really get what you want out of the project. So it's just like, okay, if that's the case, then you know, you need to have all the tools at your disposal to be able to slow you down and to make sure that you're implementing everything that you mean to implement meaningfully. This way you're not having to go back and re-implement or like argue with it, or, you know. And when you're able to slow down and make those decisions, I think that's when it becomes most powerful, because then it's just like, okay, well, yeah, I like it, or nah, I don't like it. So I just think that's a really interesting way to think about it. Kaylin. You okay? Okay. We should do that. Fried chicken time. What's up, Mano? He's about to throw up. Yeah, you need to go take a seat, sir. Breathe, man, oh breathe. That's good. All right. Well, yeah, like I was saying, ideally, to get Spec Kit implemented, learn more about it, and yeah. All right. I'm gonna call it